The design brief was essentially to replace what was lost, and what was lost were in the explosion were two buildings from 1912 and 1922, the original two classroom buildings, which was classrooms, science, technology, and cafeteria and food service. Our approach was, so when we were hired, we had a year and a half scheduled to get kids back in the school. And the thing that is really important to understand is the emotion of the situation and the people involved. Our first meetings, it was clear that this was more than replacing a school and classrooms. It was really recreating a new vision for the school. We just were really struck by how emotional everything was. In fact, one of the quotes by Elaine Eckstedt, who is an alum and historian, said, we have lost everything. And so it was just much more than a school. And so we approached it from a point of view that, one, we felt our huge responsibility to do what was right, to rebuild a school and rebuild meaning to the people who felt that they had lost everything. So that was one part of it. Maybe the second part was we recognized that there's a long history of this school and this relationship to the Mississippi River and the Parkway and knit into this neighborhood, and we wanted to make sure that we took advantage of the nature and relationships to that, but also not overwhelm and stay in the context of the scale of the community. The overall ambiance was important. We wanted to make sure that the space was welcoming and warm. And so that had an influence on the materials that we chose. So that's probably what I would say is the theme of the space. I would say that the spaces are fluid. The spaces are meant to flow in and be ambiguous, also to have spaces for many types of social activities and conversations, as well as connect the two wings that were essentially severed. From the very beginning, we believe just philosophically that schools don't have to be cold, don't have to be impersonal. They can have warmth and have hospitality. So we chose materials that would represent that would have the warmth and welcome nature that it does. One of the most important decisions we made was to put the addition on the river side. The two academic wings sort of embrace the landscape, but the entire first level is filled with glass, filled with, and really trying to create that relationship with the exterior. And we wanted to create an element on the inside that brought the outside in. So we conceived of this large skylight with the two trees, and also symbolically we were trying to represent the two people who lost their lives in the blast. Generally, yes. That's one of the best ways to mitigate sound is through the ceiling, especially when you have hard surfaces on the floor, which we did have in this case. We have a lot of sealed concrete and pavers, and so that was a really big consideration. But in general, yes. Well, funny enough, we had a lot of conversation about that. Really, that was a technical challenge as well as an aesthetic one. But it looks like they're kind of irregular geometries, but we actually found the most rational way to do it was to align it with one of the academic wings and let it play out. And so we felt like it had actually the fewest amount of angular geometries. And also another criteria was we preferred to see the wood baffles on their side versus looking down the ends in case they weren't perfectly straight. However, they were so straight we might have chose differently, but that was a big consideration. Really it was, and that was another thing we studied carefully, and in this case we wanted to celebrate those angles and celebrate that geometry and test our craftspeople and see if they could pull it off a little bit. But I think it's just one of those details that's a little unexpected and is unique in every opening that it encounters. It offers something special. Terrific. I mean, it's really turned out well. I think the ceiling in particular, people don't realize how much equipment, ductwork, fire sprinklers, data, all of the complexity that's up there, and the amount of effort that we went through to coordinate that and make sure that only those things that had to penetrate and be visible through it were, so we could create this, so it could be about the material and about the geometry and not about the equipment that was up within it. But yeah, I think it turned out great. Client loves it. They were thrilled, and it was really one of the first things that I think they commented on, and just how beautiful it was and how unexpected it is in a school. You don't often see that, but I really think it helps. Without the wood ceiling, I'm not sure that we would have captured the same ambiance that we have. Boy, there's so many. The exterior cladding is obviously unique, and we're really proud of the work we did to make that realized. But I think just, really some of the unique touches. I mentioned the detail around the soffits. We have a suspended brick installation that we created ourselves by salvaging bricks that were lost in the explosion. I think it's really just those touches of craft and the personalization and the connection to history that I'm most proud of. Maybe just as an architect, it's really rewarding to see people using this space, and you draw these things on paper, you talk about whether or not these ideas work, but when you actually see them work and you see the students and kids and staff alike using this space, it's just incredibly rewarding. We have teachers who just go on about how it's helped them teach, it's helped their relationships with other teachers. It's the building actually is just facilitating more relationships, so it's just kind of a gift that keeps giving, and as an architect, that's really the most we could ever hope for.